Shalom, Havarim. So, I haven't been getting on here. I guess it's my own insecurities that have kept me from sharing what ABBA has been sharing with me during the duration of this year. Not that I haven't been hiding the light that he's showing me under a basket. I've just been keeping it more private amongst those that I trust because I'm not wanting a bunch of negative feedback because people that don't have eyes to see will not see this, or they'll see this as being a bunch of garbage and not the truth. So take it for what you will, but I'm putting this out there because I believe that it will be important information for some of those out there. Alright, so I do have a video that I put out of some of the visions that he had been giving me at the beginning of this year. I've had multiple ones since then. I haven't shared those. But the one I wanted to focus on that I did share with people was my Koof 1221 dream. So just a quick recap on that. Koof is the sun at the horizon, okay? And it has to do basically with time, light diminishing. And I just in the last couple of days got an interpretation of what this is, what this dream vision really meant. So I'm going to start off with my dream. I'll just do a recap. I was standing at a billboard and I was talking to somebody about how to keep the Moedim, the feast days of Yahuwah. And I looked off into my peripheral vision on the right hand side and I saw a woman dressed in black, and then a woman, the same woman, innocent. And so basically I was seeing light and darkness is what I was seeing. I was seeing a woman who was playing both sides. She was playing light and darkness. And I didn't know what to think about that at the time. But the person that I was showing how to keep the Moedim, I was showing them, I had a graph, I had all the details, I had everything figured out except the last couple months. And when I recognized that I didn't have all the months figured out, I quickly tried to figure all of them out and write them down. And then I woke up and I said, Koof, 1221. So now what I have found is ABBA has taken me down the OTiOT pictograph road since actually Sukkot of last year. And we just had Sukkot approximately a month or so ago. And it's been a year, and now he has shown me a confirmation to that. But I'm also going to be sharing more details pertaining to other things that tie into it. And there's going to be a lot of information. Like, this is really going to be a lot for people to take. Just whatever you glean from this, whatever the Father allows you to absorb it, and then if you need to, come back, watch it over again. I'm not any professional. I don't know how to be organized and in thought. I am an organized person. I organize homes. That's what I do for a living. But it's funny because I don't know how to organize my thoughts, and so things are going to be jumping around, and I hope you guys can follow along. Abba, be with me, please, and help me to make this clear. So, Koof, we already established it's the sun at the horizon. Okay, there's different models to every pictograph. The OTiOT pictograph has 22 pictographs. I'm not going to show all of them on the screen. For those, many of you guys know what those are, and for those that don't, look it up. All right, so with every pictograph, there is a picture, but then there's a number associated with it as well. So what I found is 1221. 12 is a reflection of 21. Okay, it's a mirror image. All right, so this was not planned this way, but I guess it was planned in ABBA's world. If you look behind me, it looks like I have books and stuff in the back. It's a mirror. It's a mirror image. It's a mirror image. So really the books are in front of me. Where I'm at right now, this is not my home. But I'm using this space at this present moment in somebody else's home to do this video. So, okay. What ABBA showed me about my vision was 12 is a reflection of 21. And what he's been doing lately is he's been showing me different numbers. And I look those numbers up on my phone and break them down into the pictograph audio. So I looked up H12. Okay? H12 means destruction, to separate. And it came down to Abaddon. Okay? And the root to that is Aleph Bet, which is Ab. Okay? But it roots to Abaddon. All right, and then 21, 21 is Ab, for Abba, and that means Father. And so we have light and darkness, we have good and evil, okay? We have a separation, all right? If you look at this pictograph, you will see there is a line of separation. I'm going to go farther into this. But Koof is light, separated from darkness. If we are at war, we have the opponent on one side and us on the other, and the line that separates us. Okay, so I also found that Koof rises in the east and sets in the west. Most people know that. Kadam, back to the beginning, back to Israel. The east reflects the west. We are in the west, okay? Yahshua is in the east, okay? So when the sun comes up, it comes up from the east, and it travels on a line all the way over to the west, all right? That line is yellow. Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the light of the path. All right? I don't know what all this means. I'm not going to go into details unless he's specifically given me details, but the sun is the pathway. Okay? All right, let's see. What's the next point I have? Okay, so the sun goes from one destination to another. All right, it starts somewhere, and it has a destination. We start our lives out somewhere, and we have a destination. That's not something I put in my notes. All right, then he directed me to a clock. We're going to go back to this. A clock is circular, okay? And a clock has an hour, if we put a little dot here in the middle, has an hour and a minute arm, okay? Now obviously those arms can go all the way around, you know, but we're going to focus on the east and the west right now, okay? So what we're looking at here is, if we look at a clock, this is 3, this is 9. All right, so what he showed me is 3 and 9, 39. 30 is Lamed, which is the staff. All right, let's get that out. All right, Lamed is the staff of Yahshua. has to do with him leading us, guiding, protecting, and steering the sheep. Also has to do with who you're yoked to and who you are discipling for. So what he showed me with 30, Lamed is 30, and 9, okay, let me find it here. 9 is Tet, the basket, okay? And the basket has to do with gathering, containing something. It also has to do with generosity. So we're going to focus on the gathering. What do you put in a basket? You gather food, you gather seeds, okay? So what he showed me was he is steering, collecting his sheep. He is gathering them together. He's putting his chosen ones into his basket. That is what is happening here. All right. So he also showed me that when we look at the basket, this actually looks like a clock too. All right, where's it at? Where'd I put it? Okay. Koof. All right. Koof also looks like the Zadok calendar. I don't know anything about this Zadok calendar. All right, but I know that a lot of people are following different calendars based off of their findings. I haven't done research on it. This is just the surface information that he's given me right now. I don't know anything beyond what he's shown me. So the Zadok calendar apparently is what I'm understanding to be the calendar that we should be following. That's his calendar, and it's based off of the sun. I don't know anything beyond that, so I just had to share that, put that in there. And the other thing is, I guess I can tie this into that. Okay, so we have a mirror image in this world. Okay, the mirror image that we have is light versus darkness, good versus evil, the ways of Yahshua and the ways of man. All right, and so what I've been shown is part of the mark of the beast. It's not just one thing, it's multiple things. The mark of the beast, okay? These are English words, English terms, but the mark is Tau or Ta, okay? Yahshua is the Ta. Yahweh is the Aleph, Yahshua is the Ta, okay? So when you look at this, a lot of people look at this as a cross, okay? And we see that in Christianity. I'm not going to get into all that, but this isn't an evil symbol, okay? It's, man can make it evil, but the cross, the stake, the X, the Tau, it's not evil, all right? It's what man does with these images that make them evil. So what I recognized was the mark of the beast, okay? The beast, you can break that down into the pictograph OTiOT, but ultimately it's what you are marking your mind with, okay? So let me go into that more detailed. In Greek, we see the mark of the beast as being 666, all right? Well, let me step back just for a minute and explain something. When we look at Yahweh's written word, we see, when we dig down below the surface of the English words that we read on our Bibles or whatever, we see Strong's numbers. Those Strong's numbers break down into Hebrew. What's happened is when they are broken down, okay, a lot of times the translators, have only given you one side or the other. Okay, in Yahweh's language, in His word, there is a light and a darkness. There is a negative and a positive, a good and an evil. Okay, so to every single pictograph, every single Hebrew letter pictograph, there is a negative and a positive side to that, a negative and a positive image. So what we're seeing here is 666, the mark of the beast. Okay, in Greek, that actually means tradition. So what traditions are you holding on to? Okay, what traditions are of the world and what traditions are of the Father? All right, so when we look at the world, we see paganism. A lot of people are focused on all this paganism. That is the negative image to these pictographs. But most people don't focus on, okay, well, this is where the evil is. What's the opposite of this evil? So there is a positive 666 as well. And that is the pictograph Wah. Okay, Wah is the tent peg. What you are securing your temple with. This is the house, Beit. Okay, the house. What this has to do with is Yahshua. Okay, has to do with our literal bodies, our physical homes, and with family. Okay, so what we secure our Beit with shows who we serve. All right, so 666 is Wah, Wah, Wah. All right, and that means that we are hooking ourselves, our minds, our bodies, either to Yahuwah and His peg, or to Satan and his peg. Okay, and that's based off of what we allow as truth, light versus darkness in our lives. All right, so continuing on, what we are securing ourselves with, are we securing ourselves with the ways of the world, their traditions, or are we securing our ways to line up with Yahweh's ways? Okay, the ways of the world are a mere image of the ways of Yahuwah. And that goes into, I'm just going to do a little sidetrack here. What traditions are we keeping? What ways are we keeping? What are we marking? What are we marking? Going back to that mark. What are we marking on our calendars? Which is named after a pagan deity too, by the way. But what are we marking on our calendars to determine our path day to day? Well, I'll tell you what we're doing. We either are following a calendar by the Maker, and we're keeping His ways, His Moedim, His feast days, or we are marking our calendars to follow the pagan feasts, the feasts that man has created. All right, and there was a recent holiday, which I'm going to call them holidays now, because that's what they are. But there is a reflection of Yahweh's ways and the enemy's ways. Every feast day that we have that is Yahweh's, there is a reflection of it. For example, we just celebrated Thanksgiving. I've done Thanksgiving my entire life until this year, because He showed me that it is a mere image of Sukkot, the Feast of Ingathering, that we already celebrate, that He has outlined in our scriptures. We don't need to be celebrating a Sukkot and a Thanksgiving, because we already have one we've been instructed to keep. That's all I'm going to say about that. There's a lot of research. I did a lot of looking into this. I have both physical and spiritual proof on both sides of the argument, why you shouldn't keep any of these pagan holidays, any of them that are by man. Okay, so continuing on. So I pointed out the feast. They're a mere image. All right. All right. So another thing, we have mere images. Everything that we do, every aspect of our world. We have a physical world and a spiritual world. Yahweh dwells in the spiritual world. Satan is the ruler of the air. He dwells in the physical world. Okay? So what are we putting in our lives that are separating us from the Father? We are either choosing to be healed, for example, by Yahweh and his methods of healing, or we are choosing to be healed by the enemy and his ways of healing. I've seen several people talking about this topic lately, but this is a little side note that I'm going to go off of real quick. Pharmakia. Okay? Pharmakia is the negative image. It is the reflection of Yahweh in his ways. So when you look at the pharmakia industry, okay, pharmakia is already a pagan deity. But there is, as I said, a positive image, okay? But what we're going to look at is these two pictographs that have to do with the pharmakia symbol and stuff like that. So, where are we at? Okay, let's start off with the RX. He showed me that RX is Resh Tau. Resh has to do with who our headship is, okay? What our thoughts are on, who we're putting first. And then Ta, we already know that to be a mark, a sign, a signature. So RX of the world means that we are trusting in man's ways, we are making them our headship, and we are marking ourselves to that way. So what he also showed me is when we take medications and we take these pharmakia spells, if you will, when we take them, they affect our mind, which has to do with our thoughts. Our thoughts are not going to be on Yahweh. They're going to be on the evil one. So we got to get this stuff out of us. We got to clear our minds, not be dependent on the ways of the world, but choose to do the natural pathways, which means that our minds, our thoughts are on Yahweh, and we are marking our path in the right direction. Okay? Now, he also showed me this. The snakes wrapped around the pole. Okay? The snakes wrapped around the pole. Alright, we know this story of Moshe. Moshe, he had the serpent staff in his hand. What that represents is the Lamed and the seed. The seeds were wrapped around, okay? Seeds are Nun, and the staff is Lamed. So what people were doing when they are taking these pharmaceuticals, they are accepting the seed, putting it in their mouth, putting it in their body, and they are yoking themselves to the leader, which is the opposite, in this case, of Yahweh. So we're looking at the seed of opposition, and we're yoking ourselves to it. All right, next. All right. America is the reflection of Israel. I'm going to tie this back in together so you guys can kind of all see how all these angles come together. So we're really focusing on the reflection. Good versus evil, light versus darkness, the reflection. Everything has a positive and a negative. Okay, so when we look at Koof again, all right, where's it at? There it is. All right, when we look at Koof again, I was shown that in the last days, we are going to have a line of division. Yahweh and his chosen are going to be on this side. Satan and his chosen are going to be on that side. Has anybody heard of Corrie ten Boom? If you haven't, look her up. Okay, she had a vision. She was, okay, just to give you a little bit of background if you're not familiar with Corrie ten Boom. She is a woman who helped save the Jews during the Holocaust. Apparently, and she was a German woman. She was traveling over the United States. And what happened was she had a vision while she was traveling over the Ozarks. All right. Now, she said during that vision that she was shown that this would be the place of refuge for those in the last days. Okay. Now, this year, my husband and I were shown that there's something to the Ozarks. Okay. And I recently found out that initially the name Ozark was actually Oxark. Chew on that for a minute. Oxark. The ox. Okay? Ox. This would be Aleph. And X would be Tau. The Aleph and the Ta. I didn't put that in my notes. This is all ABBA right here. Ox. Aleph, X, Ta. The Oxark. He's shown me for a bit now that the Ozarks, there's something to them, and I don't know anything beyond what he's shown me so far, but Oxark, Noah's Ark, the Ark of the Covenant. I don't know how they all tie into each other. I've got ideas. I'm not going to share those because, I'm not going to go there right now. But the Ox Ark, if you look into the Ozark mountain range, you will see that it is a bull. It is a bull. Kind of looks like this. All right? It is a bull. And I'm not going to say any more details about that because you can look into it for yourself and find out why that particular plateau mountain range area is so special. I found multiple different things about people believing that the Ark of the Covenant is in the Ozarks in Arkansas. There's another thing, Arkansas, because the Ozarks actually go from the north part of Arkansas all the way to Missouri. All right. And so I was shown that if we lay this flat, okay, if we lay this flat, the Ozarks, all right, this is north and south. The north is where the enemy, or Satan and his elite, will be gathering. Yahweh and his elite will be gathering on this side. I don't know where the line is because a lot of the Ozarks are in Missouri. But chew on that. And there will be a battle. Okay? Between good and evil. Armageddon. The last days. So, let's see, what else do I got here? All right. So Yahweh is gathering his elect. This is something else Abba showed me months ago. He gave me the words that started with L. I'm not going to go into that because that's another experience outside of my Koof 1221 dream that he gave me. So I'm not going to go into that. But he gave me a few words, and one of the and the words that he gave me all started with L, Aleph Lamed, okay, which is short for Elohim, okay, and L, elect. Yahweh is gathering his elect, while the enemy is gathering his elect, and that gathering is happening now, in present time. Yahweh is preparing us, which is causing division, a separation, and dividing, separating the good from the evil, okay? And that division is not only occurring in the physical seen world, but it's also occurring in the spiritual unseen world of our minds, our Resh, going back to Resh. So we have, for those that are starting to become awake, you feel like you are living both in the spiritual and in the physical, because he's showing you incredible things that you can't explain to anyone. Or if you do, they look at you like you got horns sticking out of your head. And for those that are being shown, hallelujah, you have somebody to talk to that can really understand what you're talking about. But I wanted to show this little graph I came up with. Now forget this line right here. That I was explaining something else to someone else. Okay, Abba showed me that his name, this is Koof. Okay, so here's Koof again. All right, Abba showed me that his name is a mirror image. All right, ABBA, Ab, reflects BA. Light versus darkness, division. Okay, so if you can see this a little clearer, we have the Father on one side and we have Satan on the other. That's the thing that people don't recognize, is with this word Abba, okay, the Aleph and the Beit, okay, there is always a negative and a positive. All right, so that means that Yahweh is either your ox in your house, or Satan is your ox and is in your house. So they are a mirror image of one another. Good versus evil, light versus darkness. Okay, I know that was a lot of information. It was all over the place. But recognize that we are in a spiritual battle. The enemy is the ruler of this physical world. So whatever you are doing in your life, make sure that you are doing Yahweh's ways. Because if you're doing the ways of the world, you are doing the mirror image of what you should be doing. So ask yourself what mainstream holidays that you are keeping, what you are doing and accepting as truth in your mind, in your Resh. What are your thoughts focused on? Are you holding so tight to the ways of the world, or are you holding tight to the staff in your hand? Are you holding tight to the positive side of the staff? Because there's a negative. If you're yoking yourself to the world and you're going the world's way, you're going the wrong way. But if you're yoking your staff to the ways of Yahweh, what he's telling you to do in his word, then you are going down the path of the light and not the path of darkness. Shalom.